Hello everyone. So today we will start a session from strategic human resource management, and today we will start from unit number 3, that is human resource planning HRP as a strategy. Okay. So in this unit we will going to see the following points, which are business strategy and human resource planning, then human resource planning process, job analysis, then forecasting and analyzing HR demands, that is qualitative and quantitative, then supply forecasting, external and internal, and comparison of demand and supply forecasting. Okay, so starting from the first point, that is 3.1 strategic human resource planning, that is SHRP. So in this point we will going to see some subpoints, that are 3.1.1 concept of strategic HRP, then 3.1.2 strategic human resource planning process, 3.1.3 business strategy and human resource planning, then 3.1.4 strategies for managing employee shortage and surplus, then 3.1.5, that is benefits of SHRP. Okay, so we will see all these points one by one. So starting from 3.1.1 concept of strategic human resource planning. So the process of staffing initiates with a forecasting of quantity and quality of individual needed to carry out organizational functions. So these functions is known as strategic human resource planning, that is SHRP. So SHRP is the process of predicting and facilitating the employees movement, that is hiring, transfer, or termination. So in order to meet organizational strategies, so with the help of planning, organization always desire to have suitable employees on time. So all the strategies of an organization are aligned with their financial benefits, whether the type of business operations, its production direction, its profit goals, etc. So the main focus of HRP is on the skills needed by the organization to attain success. So the difference existing between the desired competencies and the present competencies of the employee are recognized with the help of human resource planning. So, moving to the next part, 3.1.2 strategic human resource planning process. So, there are four different steps involved in the strategic HRP process. So, they are assessing current capacity, then forecasting HR requirements, gap analysis, and fourth one is developing HR strategies to support organizational strategies. So, first step is assessing current HR capability. So, on the basis of the strategic plans of organization, assessing the current capacity is the first step of strategic human resource planning. The skill, competency, and knowledge of personnel working in the organization are needed to be recognized. So, in order to accomplish this, skills inventory can be developed for each and every employee. So, the organization must not limit its skill inventory within the criteria of skill needed for the for any specific job, but it must acknowledge all the skills of the employee. Okay, then the next one is forecasting HR requirements. So forecasting the future HR requirements on the basis of organizational strategic goals is the next step. So the accuracy in forecasting HR includes estimation of both demands and supply of personnel. So these forecasting must be able to address some queries like what number of personnel will be needed by the organization to meet its strategic goals. Then what are the vacant profiles which must be filled immediately, and what are the skills which employees must possess. So, while performing the demand forecast for the personnel, different challenges must also be determined by the manager, which could be encountered while fulfilling the staffing requirement on the external environment. Okay, so the third step in strategic HR planning process is gap analysis. So, the gap analysis of gap between the present situation of organization and its desired position is done in this step. So this analysis also includes the comparison of present number of staff and skills and future number of needed staff and skills. So all the HR management practices of the organization must also be reviewed by the manager, so that different practices which can be improved are recognized, or the practices which are needed to support the organization must be included. So this gap analysis must be able to address uh, some queries like which type of new jobs could be needed, what skills could be needed in future, whether current working personnel possess those skills or not, and each the number of managers or supervisors possessed by organization are enough in numbers, and whether present HRM practices are enough to meet future goals of the or future needs of the organization. So all these queries addressed in gap analysis. Then the last step is developing HR strategies to support organizational strategies. So in order to fulfill the future requirements of the organization, five HR strategies can be used, like restructuring strategies, training and development strategies, recruitment strategies, outsourcing strategies, and the last one is collaboration strategies. So all these strategies are used in order to fulfill the future requirements of the organization. Then moving to the next part, that is business strategy and HRP. So employees are the crucial part of any organization. In each business plan, human resource planning must be included as an important part. So the anticipated changes in different forms of organizational functions and in the scale of these functions are termed as strategic planning process. So strategic planning process also recognizes the core skills and abilities of organization which it requires in order to achieve its goals. Hence, strategic planning process helps organization to desired skills and behavior. So the business plans are given consideration by the human resource planning in terms of number of employees needed by the organization to fulfill these business plans. So it directly affects the organizational strategy by focusing different methods of employee development and development so that deployment and development so that organizational goal can be achieved easily. And it also focuses on fixing such issues which can affects employees in reaching their full efficiency. Okay, then Porter framework of relationship between business plan and human resource planning. So a structure describes describing the relationship between business strategy and human resource planning was proposed by Porter. So I will show you the structure in next video. So in Porter address that cost leaderships, there are two different kinds of business strategies which are used in this Porter's framework. Is cost First one is cost leadership strategy, and second one is a differentiation strategy. So the cost leadership strategy is more suitable in a stable business environment, and the organization following the cost leadership strategy compete with a different organization by selling high quality goods and services at low price. So under cost leadership strategy, firms are needed to develop their workforce with specific skills. Since human resource planning has a long term uh, perspective, and it becomes hard for the organization to develop skills quickly as per the needs of market. And the second one is differentiation strategy. So this strategy is suitable in a vibrant environment where changes take place very quickly. And under this strategy, organization seeks for new products and new market. So there is a greater responsiveness of organization adopting this strategy to the market changes. Therefore the perspective of HR planning will have a short response time. So under this strategy, organization can also use external sources to gain expert personnel. Okay, for example, merger or acquisition of another organization, it will help the organization uh, to achieve its goals. Then moving to the next point, strategies for managing employee shortage and surpluses. So strategies used for managing employee surpluses are like early retirement or hiring, early recruitment or hiring. Okay, then end outsourcing contracts, then reduced workers hours, begin mandatory for love system, and yes, so all these are the strategies used for managing employee shortage. So, freeze recruitment or hiring is nothing but the hiring of new employees, and managers must be emphasizes on a more effective use of their current employees. So, those departments where the numbers are in surplus must provide their surplus to those departments where members are needed. So further, employees can also share their work with other employees in order to reduce their work burden. Then the next strategy used is early retirement. So, this strategy is mainly used to control high labor cost. Under this strategy, old age workers are eliminated by issuing early retirement, and this is an effective strategy because it not only minimizes the number of employees but it also eliminates the cost which organizer has to bear while terminating staff. Then the next strategy is end outsourcing contracts. When organization desires to cut labor cost, then it can end the outsourcing services by turning workload back on the shoulders of employees, and it enhances the organizational independence, and little rise in workforce will be able to handle increased work burden. And the possibility of this strategy can be seen in those organizations where organization processes personnel with similar skills and pay scale as in outsourcing firms. Then the next strategy used in managing employee shortage is reduce workers hours or pay across the board. So, in order to reduce the labor cost, organization can take a strategic move of either reducing working hours or pay scale. Although this strategy has a negative impact on the moral of the individual, but these reductions can be used to control the cost of having excess manpower. Then the last strategy is begin a mandatory furlough system. So under this system, employees are asked to take few days off or unpaid holidays from work. So this help employer to save some money as a reduction in labor cost, and on the other hand, with some days off from work, employees regains their energy and morale. So this method is much better as compared to across the uh, border pay reduction. Okay. Then moving to the next part, benefits of strategic human resource planning. So the different advantages or benefits of strategic human resource planning are to support the budgeting process. Then fast procurement of labor, helps in employee retention. Then SHRP serves as a mechanism for identifying critical talent, and it helps to identify skill gaps in workforce. So starting from first point, that is supports it supports the budgeting process. So yes, the process of organizational budgeting is greatly supported by the strategic human resource planning. So when organizations are growing, they need talented employees. On the other hand, they also have to save cost. Hence, if organization executes the strategic human resource planning at the right time, then organizational process or budgeting gets much easier. Then fast procurement of labor. Every year employees retire or leave the organization. So there could be a situation of either having excess or scarcity of workforce. So with the implementation of strategic human resource planning, these issues can be realized on time, and organization will become able to save organization before the uh, occurrence of any loss. Also, it helps in employee retention. So, strategic human resource planning not only attract new employees when there is shortage of laborers in market, but it also keeps on taking strategic move to retain employees. Then the next one is, so it serves as a mechanism of identifying critical talent. So yes, human resource planning is executed in an appropriate manner, then it can be used as the most suitable method for recognizing the most important talent within the organization, and with an appropriate incorporation of human resource planning, the communication between the different business departments and human resource is improved. So further it will enhance the capacity of finding out and maintaining the most talented employees. Then it helps identifying skill gaps in a workforce. So, for any organization, it is critical to determine the skill gap among employees. So, this issue can be resolved with the help of proper human resource planning. So, when human resource planning is implemented correctly by the HR, then skills gaps among employees can be recognized effectively. So, for further, uh, it will also boost employees' productivity. Okay, so moving to the next part, that is 3.2, human resource planning processes. So, human resource planning was traditionally restricted to respond to only business needs. However, with the uh, with the growth in business, upgradation in technology, and innovation in the management system, human resource planning has become proactive and important in the current scenario of business. So, human resource planning is the method of forecasting human resource requirements and availability, as as budget, bridging the gap between their supply and demand. So human resource planning process is as shown in the in slide. So the first one is environmental scanning. So human resource planning process is based on analyzing various aspects of business environment in which it is operating, and it provides a clear picture of the extended expected problems, threats, and opportunities of the organization. And there is the basic step of human resource planning. So HRP requires scanning of all the factors existing in the internal, that is technical, cultural, and strategy, etc. So as well as external environments, that is competitors and rules and regulations by the government, etc., of the firm. So the analysis of the internal factors helps in identifying the strengths and weaknesses of the firm, and on the other hand, external factors highlight the threats and opportunities for the firm. Then after that, the next point is organizational objectives and policies. So after analysis of the environment, plans and policies regarding different aspects are examined to forecast the labor movement in a near future. So the time bound schedule for the human resource planning is to be prepared accordingly. So exact manpower requirement can only be assessed after considering the changes in the organizational structure and job design. So a comparative study of the plans of a business is essential, as all the employee as all the human resource plans originated from business plans. which are associated with the nature and level and also with organizational activities. Then this point, it is categorized into two different steps, that is demand forecasting and supply forecasting. So in demand forecasting, HR demand forecasting is a procedure of defining the expected manpower requirements in terms of a specified quantity and quality within the organization, and it is required to meet the expected manpower needs of the organization so that desired level of performance can be achieved. And the expected requirement of human resources is assessed on the basis of the current human resources and the analysis of organizational plans and procedures. So yes, it is true to a large extent that in particular time duration, demand forecasting is dependent on the scale of the operations in the company. However, human resource requirements are not directly proportional to the size of the company's operations. And while conducting HR requirements forecast, those components should be considered that influence the relationship between size of operations and the number of employees. So the human resource planning gives an accurate figure of the number of personnel needed in future. Okay. Then the supply forecasting is another aspect of human resource assessment. After determining the number and quality of employees that will be required in future, the next step is to estimate the supply of manpower and sources for procuring such human resources in the organization. So, this information is collected through supply forecasting, and supply forecasting is an important element of human resource planning. So, supply forecasting assesses the internal and external potential candidates after making allowance for absenteeism, internal mobility, wastage, and changes in work hours and other working conditions. So, supply forecasting is also there are two sources in supply forecasting, that are internal supply and external supply. So, demand forecasting and supply forecasting. So, these for all these two sources are commonly form a estimating manpower gaps. So, gap analysis is a type of technique which is helpful in making a comparison between the estimated for workforce supply and the estimated workforce demand. So, various factors regarding the geographic location, demographic characteristics, size, and level of employee competency are considered for the same. So, the organization makes action plans based on the outcomes of gap analysis. Then action planning. The organization is required to take an immediate step to cover up the gap, if any, and identified between the two estimates, that is HR demand and HR supply. So, in this particular phase, the immediate action is taken to maintain a balance between the exact requirement and valuable resources. So, when there is surplus labor, a number of large firms adopt downsizing, right sizing, restructuring, and re engineering and outsourcing to cut costs, increase efficiency, improve productivity, and at the same time remain competitive. So, on the other hand, to deal with the scarcity of the employees, various measures must be taken by the organization to ensure that uh, sample resources are available to fulfill the needs of the manpower in the future, such as recruitment, selection, training, development, and incentives, etc. And the last step in this process is evaluation and control. So the process of evaluating and controlling the performance of the employee is very vital within the organization, as it leads to the effective performance of the organization. So if the organization does not continuously evaluate the workforce if efforts, it may be unable to foresees the expected changes in the future. So it must have a systematic and planned process for the continuous review of the same. And it is important for uh, take remedial actions for the uh, deviations, if any, and upgrade the manpower resources according to the changing requirements in environment, and to access the achievement of human resource objectives. Also, to review the progress of long term plans, and to cop up and manage the individual or organizational grievances. Okay, so moving to the next part of this unit, that is 3.3, job analysis, JA. So in this point we will going to learn meaning and definition of job analysis, then features of job analysis, then purposes and uses of job analysis. After that, process of job analysis, methods and techniques used in job analysis, then problems in job analysis, and guidelines for job analysis. So starting from 3.3.1, that is meaning and definition of job analysis. So job analysis refers to a complete uh, and organized study of jobs to understand the characteristics of people to be hired for a vacant position in the organization. So it is a process of gathering essential job related information and its analysis. It gives the basis to determine the kind of information to be extracted from the applicant, uh, then past employers, and from various other sources. It is the main element of whole human resource practices. So it is very crucial in every organization. It helps the organization in transforming the functional goals being developed into some specific human activity. Okay, so according to Edwin B. Filippo, Job analysis is the process of studying and collecting information relating to the operations and responsibilities of specific job. Then features of job analysis. So job analysis has the uh, four different features, which are organized a way of collecting and analyzing information about a job. So the fundamental element of human resource management is job analysis, which is an organized manner of collecting and analyzing the information relating to a job content and context. Then job creation. So the job analysis aims to create jobs that are aligned to the organizational workflow that is required to be completed. And job analysis is focused on using a proper system to collect information about the performance of the employees in their jobs, and this information is used for creating job descriptions and job specifications. Then the next feature is linked to HR activities. So there are a various variety of methods and sources of data that can be utilized in executing job analysis, and the actual assessment of job analysis begins from gathering of information and converting it into the job description and job specifications for the use of HR activities. So the proper information regarding the job requirement is necessary to validate HR actions to the job. So, in order to be effective, HR planning, recruitment, and selection must be aligned to the job requirements and the ability of every individual. So, the other aspects of HR, like compensation, training, and employee performance appraisals, must be based on the requirements of the job. So, job analysis can be used to identify various job factors and duties which contribute to health and safety issues at work. Therefore, job analysis is a critical factor which affects labor management relations. Then, the next feature of job analysis is redesigning jobs. So, job analysis gathers information on those specific features of the job that makes it unique. So, redesigning of jobs is another function that can be performed with the help of the information gathered through job analysis. However, the basic objective of job analysis is to know the tasks that are needed to be performed on the job and the individual capabilities that are required for it. Then the next point is purposes and uses of job analysis. So there are different purposes and uses are there in job analysis. So we will see all these points one by one. So starting from point one, that is HRP, human resource planning. So job analysis is used for determining knowledgeable and skillful human resource requirements in an organization, and it helps in making systematic promotion and transfer policy by by displaying lateral and vertical links between different jobs. Then the next purpose in job analysis is recruitment. So job analysis helps in identifying the right method and the right time to recruit people for the future vacancies in the organization, and it is necessary to recognize the skills and positions required to future vacancies to allow managers to plan for recruiting manpower in an organized way. Then the next purpose is selection. So selection, it is a very difficult to choose a suitable person without having a definite idea about what is supposed to be done in the job. So it is not easy to find whether the person who have been selected has the ability to place the right skills. Then the next purpose of job analysis is orient placement and orientation. So when selection is complete, the fresh recruits have to be placed in a job that best suits to their interest, their behavior and actions. So when we are not assured about the job duties, it is impossible to analyze the most suitable candidate for the job. In addition, without appropriate understanding of job requirements, effective job orientation is not easy to achieve. So, the fresh recruits should be given a clear training about the job tasks and duties. Then, the next purpose is training. So, appropriate training cannot be imparted until we do not clearly state what the job is and what is required to do on the job. So as current recruit or potential candidate may not require extra training, but he can be sure about the job when he is aware the job requirements identified by job analysis. Then the next purpose of job analysis is employee safety. So, job analysis helps the managers in analyzing hazardous conditions after studying various operations to be performed in the job, and it helps in creating a healthy and safe working environment by easily improving work situations. Then the next point is performance appraisal. So, the job analysis information is essential for the establishment of performance standards, and value of employees can be evaluated by a through understanding of what the employees is meant to do and what is his actual performance. Therefore, on the basis of employees performance, the organizations should pay him a fair remuneration. Then the next purpose is job design and redesign. So the process of integrating different tasks together to make a complete job is called job design. So once the job are thoroughly studied, it is easier to take corrective measures by analyzing their work points. So through the continuous monitoring can be done to remove unnecessary movements, simplifying some steps and improving existing ones. Thus, jobs can be redesigned in order to test the intellectual standards of employees. Then, job evaluation. Job analysis helps in identifying the value of a job on the basis of level of difficulty, so type of work done and knowledge, skills, and abilities required. Thus, it helps in effective designing of an uh, equitable level of wage and salary structure of the jobs. Then the next purpose is industrial relation. So, industrial relations among managers, employees, and unions can be improvised by proper job analysis, and thus disputes and grievances associated with tasks and responsibilities can be settled easily. Then the next one is compensation and benefits. So, in compensation, it is profitable to determine the relative worth of the job to the organization before valuating the job in terms of salary. So, according to internal contexts, worth of a job increase as the task and responsibilities become important. So, job with higher knowledge, skills, and abilities adds higher worth to the company. And the last one is support legality of employment practices. So, in order to support the legality of employment practices, a well arranged job analysis is necessary. In fact, the importance of job analysis is noted in employee selection method guidelines. So, several times decisions of demotions, transfer, and promotions are safeguarded by job analysis information. Okay, so moving to the next slide, that is process of job analysis. So these are the steps involved in procedure of job analysis. So the first step is determination of use of job analysis. So in earlier times, the job analysis process was used mainly for the recruitment and selection of the employees. Later on, it also became important for other areas in order to manage the various difficulties related to human resources. Thus, it is the responsibility of the organization to clearly define the purpose of job analysis before starting the job analysis process. Then, the second step in job analysis is strategic choices in job analysis. So, the process, so while conducting the process of job analysis, uh, there are five aspects should be covered by the organization, which are employee involvement. So the employees are the best sources of providing information, the relevant data regarding the functions to be performed, skill required, and responsibilities to be carried out for the job can be easily collected by the analysis from the employees because they are used to it. Then level of details. So analysis is directly related to the details received, and the level of the details collected affects the level of analysis. Then the next aspect in the process of job analysis is when and how often. So analysis should be clear when they have to conduct the analysis and how frequently they can perform it. Then past oriented versus future oriented. So many organizations follow traditional job analysis methods which are focused on how the job were performed in the past and how they are performed in the current situation. But with the change in time, organization needs to adopt future oriented job analysis methods. So the focus of these methods is on preparing employees for the future jobs. They can even decide the methods to be used to perform the function in advance. So, this helps the organization to recruit and train the future jobs before the actual transformation. And the last aspect is source of job data. So the employees working in the organization are the major source of information, though there are various other sources also, which may include both human and non-human means. Okay. Then the fourth step in job analysis is information collection. So in this step, it includes certain aspects uh, while collecting the data, like types of job analysis information, then persons involved in information collection, and methods for data collection. Then the last step in the process of job analysis is information processing. So after data collection, the information is proceeded in order to make it useful for HR functions, and job description and job specification are the most common outputs received after the job analysis. Okay. And moving to the next part, that is different methods and techniques of job analysis. So job analysis can be conducted using various techniques and diverse methods of gathering data for job analysis. So these techniques are questionnaire. So through this method, the collecting data is very time consuming and difficult, but still clerical workers use this method on a large scale. So under this method, the job holders and are asked to provide the entire significant data regarding their job in written form, in their own words. So it is a method of gathering information about any job through mail surveys. Then the next technique is checklist. So in this method, the employee is given a list of state uh, task statements, and he has to simply check the task performed by him. Unlike questionnaire method, this method is much convenient as the employee is not uh, accountable to anyone. However, a lot of work is done to gather suitable task statements, but it is easy to govern and can be tabulated. Then the next technique is interview. So in this method, the interview is usually conducted outside the organization, in which interviewees are either called one by one or in a group. So the information given by all the interviewees is combined together to have a clear picture about the job. Although this method is also time taking and expensive, but it proves to be beneficial for the company. Then the next technique used in job analysis is observation. So observation method provides a clear job description as the analyst personally observe the performance of the employee and the working environment in which he is working. So usually this method is adopted by those organizations where major functions are performed by manpower and the working mm, period is short. So this method is expensive, slow, and normal work functioning may also get interrupted. Then the next technique is technical conference. So in this method, the main sources of obtaining information about the job are the supervisors and not the employees. But sometimes the data given by them is not accurate, as uh, as they are provide data on the basis of their previous experience. Some of the supervisors do not have sufficient knowledge about the jobs which are not performed by them. and thus they may give wrong answers. Then the next technique is self recording of diary. So it is a systematic way of collecting data regarding the job responsibilities and the time taken to perform these duties. So this method is more useful at the top management level as compared to the middle and lower level employees, because it wastes a lot of time and affecting the normal working of the employees. Since in this method employees are asked to write about the activities performed by them on the daily basis in the diary, it becomes really difficult for the employees to carry out both the things in a limited period of time. Then the next method is critical incident. So under this method, information regarding incidents of both positive and negative behavior of the employees is collected, as it may prove out to be benefited in the job analysis process. So this duty of collecting the information related to such instances is given to the supervisor, and this can be unlimited and give information regarding critical features of the job. Then the next one is Occupational Information Network, that is ONET. So the ONET is a complete database system that provides accurate and reliable information about any job. So it is a suitable to the conventional job analysis system. So ONET makes use of various indicators that can provide information about any job all over the world, and thus has become an important source of gathering data even by the central government. Then uh, rep- repertory grid. So in this technique was developed by George Kelly and generally takes place in the form of interviews. So the main focus of this method is to understand of uh, perception of the individuals about the job, and they are performing. And for this, a grid is created on the basis of thoughts of job holders about the job. This method can also be used to identify the view which differentiates high quality performances from low quality performers, and the behavioral science responsible uh, for these constructs can be easily determined by the process of laddering. So it is mainly useful for interviewing uh, subordinates. And the last technique used in job analysis is task inventory analysis. So this method was introduced by US Air Force to access jobs of the Air Force employees. So this method is a best way of identifying knowledge, skills and abilities required for a job. So the questionnaire prepared is tailor made and it not prepared. So this method is used for developing appraisal forms, writing job description, identifying suitable test of selection. Okay, so all these techniques or we can say methods are used in job analysis. Then the next point is problems in job analysis. So major problems associated with job analysis are lack of support from top management. So sometimes uh, unsupportive behavior on the part of higher management lowers down the morale of the employees. So some high level managers create doubts in the minds of employees by not telling them clearly about their job responsibilities. Then rely on single method of data collection. So job analysis prefer using a single technique for evaluation, which which may not prove out to be much beneficial. So a combination of two or more techniques is used, and it may helps in collecting more relevant and accurate data. Then the next problem arise in job analysis is lack of training and motivation. So proper job analysis can take place only if the quality data is available within the analysis. So this data is mainly received through the job holders, but since these job holders are not trained, they are not able to give the quality data. They are also not appreciated or rewarded for providing data, and they refuses to provide accurate information to the analysis. Thus, due to lack of motivation, these information sources remain unutilized. Then the next problem is misrepresentation of information. So, due to lack of motivation and training, few job holders even try to mispresent the data. They may lie about the information because of the negative feeling inside them. This misleading can be either intentional or unintentional. And the next problem arise in job analysis is non involvement of supervisors and the employee. So the supervisors believe that the job analysis is the sole responsibility of the analyst and thus do not involve themselves in the process. But if they cooperate and support the analyst, the analysis process becomes more accurate and effective. And then the next problem arises in job analysis is considered as a waste of time by managers and supervisors. So job analysis is considered as a waste of time by supervisors and managers. The main reason behind this thought is that they are not aware of the outcome of job analysis and its importance to the organization. So they take the whole process very casually, and information obtained by them seems to be misleading and insufficient. Then next problem arise in job analysis is employee fears. So earlier the job analysis was conducted for the expansion of the job and to increase the production. For this, employees salaries were reduced and sometimes they were even suspended. So this fear of being thrown out of the job, it's still there in the minds of the employees. Thus, their fear needs to be eliminated to make the process of job analysis effective. Then, the last we can say problem that arises in job analysis or which is associated with job analysis is need to update gathered information. So, as the requirement of job changes, the information regarding these job changes should be recorded and updated. So if the company uses old data for job analysis, the decisions made may prove to be incorrect. Okay, so the last point of this unit, guidelines for job analysis. So uh, following are the guidelines of job analysis. First one is job analysis must be a continuous process. So job analysis is an outgoing process. It is not a one time activity, and should be performed in conformity with changes taking place in job and technology. So there are modifications in the job due to arrival of computers. So with technological advancement, everything is becoming online, and thus numbers of paperless offices are increasing day by day. Moreover, jobs are self-designed by the employees as they follow their own explanation of job requirements. Then the second one is individual and job based analysis. So many times when information related to job analysis is gathered, the employee himself becomes a reference point for analysis. Thus firms focus on individual analysis rather than job analysis. So some employees are better performance achievers than the rest. So, job analysis does not include actual employee performance, but it involves his future performance. Therefore, any action involving job analysis based on employee performance can be ambitious. Then the third one is determination of minimum job requirements. So determining minimum job requirements is one of the main element to be considered in job analysis. So any activity undertaken for ideal requirements may not be true. Uh, Job situation change quickly. So what is ideal in present may not be ideal in the future. Therefore, any initiative in job analysis should focus on minimum requirements over than those requirements which are ideal. And the last one is use of various methods. So using a single methodology may lead to biased results. Therefore it is advised to use multiple methods in which outcome of one method is verified with the outcome of the other methods.